Cameras rolling, red lights on. He's sitting there, straight-backed, polite smile on his face, completely unaware. Perfect. Then she walks in, Chloe, deaf, and suddenly everything is supposed to unravel. You think he'll panic, freeze, bail? That's what they were counting on. 3 colleagues, 1 hidden camera, a blind date set up to expose him as a fake. Alex Rivera built his reputation on calm, on kindness, on being the guy everyone trusted. Too good to be true, his coworkers claimed. They thought this would be the moment he cracked. They thought they'd catch him pretending. They had no idea what was about to happen. Not only would the plan fail, it would reveal something none of them expected. Before we dive in, tell us, where are you watching from? It's amazing to see how far these stories travel. Late morning settled into the office the way it always did. Keyboards tapping, phones buzzing, coffee cooling untouched beside monitors. The view from the glass wall showed a slice of Boston gray-blue, the river barely visible between buildings. Inside, Leo leaned back in his chair and watched the floor with the practiced boredom of someone who had been there long enough to feel overlooked. Ben swiveled once, then twice, rolling closer. "Did you hear that?" he asked, keeping his voice low. Mark didn't look up from his screen. "If it's about Rivera, yeah, I heard it." Across the open floor, Alex Rivera stood near the conference room doors, hands folded loosely, listening while a senior manager spoke. Alex nodded once, then smiled, polite, contained, the kind of smile that never lingered too long. When the manager finished, he clapped Alex lightly on the shoulder and said something that made 2 nearby team leads glance over. Leo scoffed under his breath. There it is again. Ben followed Alex with his eyes as he walked away, calm as ever. Every meeting, every review, every time, you'd think the guy invented clean code. Mark finally turned. He doesn't even look stressed. Ever notice that? Alex passed their desks on the way back to his workstation. "Morning," he said, easy, friendly. He paused just long enough to acknowledge them, then sat down, already focused. Leo waited until Alex had headphones on. "See? That's what I'm talking about." Ben smirked. "What, the human golden retriever routine?" "He's not real," Leo said. "No one's that put together. No one climbs that fast without playing some angle." Mark leaned back, folding his arms. "You think he's lying about something?" "I think," Leo said, lowering his voice, "I think he's hiding something." Ben's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked up, eyes narrowing. "You know he's up for that promotion, right? Senior lead." Mark exhaled slowly. "So are we." Silence stretched, filled only by the hum of the office. Across the room, Alex laughed quietly at something on his screen, then typed, focused, unbothered. Leo's mouth twisted. "I just want to see who he is when things don't go his way." Ben tilted his head, like, "Outside this place?" Mark raised an eyebrow. "You're thinking what I think you're thinking." Leo smiled, thin and deliberate. "A blind date." Ben laughed once. "You're kidding." "No," Leo said. "Think about it. He's always polite, always careful. Let's put him in a situation he can't control." Mark tapped his screen. "I know someone. Chloe. She's deaf." Ben hesitated. "That's risky." "That's the point," Leo said. "If he's faking this whole saint act, it'll show." Ben shrugged. "Best case, he messes up. Worst case, we're wrong." Leo leaned forward. "We're not wrong." By lunchtime, the plan had details. A small bistro on 7th Street. Dim enough, quiet enough, predictable. Ben handled the connection. Mark sourced the equipment, the kind meant to disappear into corners and plants. Leo rehearsed the casual pitch.
Late afternoon, Alex was packing up when Leo stopped by his desk. "Hey, Rivera." Alex pulled off one ear cup. "Yeah?" Leo smiled. "You seeing anyone?" Alex paused, just a fraction too long. "No," he said. "Why?" "Friend of a friend," Leo said lightly. "Thought you might want to meet her. No pressure." Alex's eyes flicked down, then back up. "I don't usually—" "It's just coffee," Ben cut in from his chair. "Bistro on 7th, early evening." Alex hesitated. His fingers tightened around the strap of his bag, then relaxed. "Okay," he said. "Sure." Leo nodded, already turning away. "Great, I'll text you." As Alex watched them go, his smile faded. He stood there for a moment, staring at his screen without seeing it, then put his headphones back on. Calm on the outside, something quieter and heavier settling beneath. Early evening settled over 7th Street with a steady, unhurried rhythm. Inside the bistro, lights were low but warm, the kind that softened edges without trying too hard. Glassware chimed faintly. A couple at the bar laughed. Somewhere in the back, a server wiped down a counter for the third time. Alex pushed through the door and paused just inside, adjusting to the noise, the movement, the feeling of being somewhere he didn't quite belong yet. He checked his phone. 6:12 p.m., then slipped it back into his pocket. Too early. He'd always been early. Tonight it felt louder. He chose a small table near the wall, close enough to the window to watch the street, but not so exposed that he felt on display. He sat, straightened the menu even though he wasn't going to read it, then folded his hands and unfolded them again. His foot tapped once, then stopped. Across town, in a borrowed apartment that smelled faintly of takeout, Leo leaned toward a laptop. 4 video feeds glowed on the screen, different angles of the same room. "Camera 3's a little low," Mark muttered, adjusting something on his tablet. "It's fine. We'll get everything we need." Leo smirked. "Just wait." Back at the table, a server approached. "Can I get you something to drink while you wait?" Alex looked up, smiled politely. "Water's fine, thank you." He watched the server walk away, then glanced at the door again. His shoulders rose with a slow breath and dropped. He wasn't sure why he'd agreed to this. He told himself it was harmless, just coffee, just conversation. Still, something in him stayed alert, like he was bracing for a sound he couldn't hear yet. The door opened. A woman stepped inside, pausing briefly to take in the room. She adjusted the strap of her bag, then moved forward, weaving easily between tables. Her eyes scanned faces, not hurried, just focused. When she reached the host stand, she tapped it lightly, catching the host's attention, and pointed to the reservation list. Alex watched, without realizing he was doing it. There was something assured in the way she moved, like she already knew how the night would go and wasn't afraid of it. She turned, searching the room again, and their eyes met. She smiled, uncertain but open. Alex stood quickly, almost knocking his chair back. He took a step forward, then stopped when she raised her hand and gestured toward her ear, then shook her head gently. Understanding landed in him instantly, not a surprise, but recognition. He lifted his hands without thinking. "Hi, I'm Alex." Her eyes widened, just a little. "Chloe," she signed back, her smile spreading, real now. "Nice to meet you." The air between them changed, like a held breath finally released. Alex laughed softly, more at himself than anything else, and gestured toward the table. "Please." She nodded and sat, placing her bag at her feet. Alex followed, movements suddenly easier, smoother. The awkward edge he'd carried in with him slipped away without him noticing. Across town, the room with the screens went quiet. Ben leaned forward. "Wait, is he?" Mark didn't answer. Leo's grin faded. "No way." On screen, Alex and Chloe were already talking, hands moving fluidly, expressions animated. Alex signed with ease, not careful or stiff, but natural, like someone speaking in a language that lived deep in muscle memory. Chloe laughed at something he said, covering her mouth briefly, then shook her head, signing back quickly. Alex leaned in, listening with his whole body, nodding, responding. The feeds kept rolling unnoticed as the plan unraveled in real time. Leo stared at the screen, jaw tight. That's not how this was supposed to go. Back at the bistro, Alex caught himself smiling too much and didn't stop it. For the first time that evening, he forgot to check the door, forgot to feel watched. Whatever this night was meant to be, it had already become something else. The conversation between Alex and Chloe settled into a rhythm, effortless, like two musicians finding the same key. Words weren't spoken, but the meaning moved with clarity and warmth, each gesture precise, deliberate, full of nuance. Alex's hands moved easily, not carefully rehearsed. This was how he spoke, how he thought, how he lived. Chloe tilted her head, laughed, and signed something that made Alex raise his eyebrows in mock offense. He shook his head, then grinned, signing back a quick, teasing reply. She rolled her eyes playfully, signing again. The small exchange sparked something light, a quiet electricity neither had expected. "So many people," she signed slowly, watching him carefully. "They act like being with someone like me is charity, or a challenge, or a lesson." Alex nodded, fingers moving fluidly. "I know. People assume too much, that they have to pity or prove something, or that you can't fit into their world." Chloe's smile softened. "Exactly. Some dates, they try to talk for me or over me. They assume my silence is weakness." "Not tonight," Alex sighed, leaning back with a gentle shrug. "Not anyone I want to be with." She studied him, curious. You know sign language like this?" Alex's hands paused for a heartbeat.
Then he signed slow and unhurried. "It's my first language. My mother, she was deaf. I learned to speak, sure, but this is how I grew up talking." Chloe's eyes widened slightly, not with judgment, but recognition. "That makes sense. You're natural." "I try," he signed, a small, self-deprecating grin tugging at his lips. "Sometimes I forget that not everyone does this fluidly. I forget how surprising it can be." For a few beats, neither moved their hands. The quiet was comfortable, a rare kind of pause where connection thrived. Then Alex's hands dipped slightly, hesitating, before signing carefully, "I have a daughter, 7, Lily." Chloe's face softened, the earlier playfulness fading just enough for a hint of empathy. You are a widower?" she asked softly, eyes meeting his. Alex nodded once, quietly. "Yes." No drama, no sigh, just truth spoken in the curve of his hands and the tilt of his head. The mood shifted subtly, heavier, real, grounding the laughter and teasing that had come before. Chloe nodded, absorbing the weight without pity. I understand a little," she signed. "Loss changes the way you meet people. It changes what you risk." Alex's hands flexed, fingers brushing the tabletop before he gestured lightly. "It does, but it also understands what matters, what's worth fighting for." Off-screen, the coworkers watched, frozen. Leo leaned closer to the monitor, jaw tight. That's his connecting with her. Ben frowned. "But she's deaf. We thought he'd panic. He's good," Mark said quietly. "Better than we imagined." The trio exchanged uneasy glances. Their plan, designed to humiliate Alex, was unraveling in real time. Back at the table, Alex and Chloe continued their conversation, seamlessly blending humor and gravity, teasing and honesty. They discussed favorite books, shared small stories from childhood, and laughed at minor frustrations of daily life. Alex signing fast when amused, Chloe correcting him playfully when he tried to exaggerate. Alex leaned in, eyes warm. "You like puzzles?" he signed. Chloe nodded. "I do, but only the ones worth figuring out." "Then we're in agreement," he signed back, a spark in his eyes. Across town, Leo closed his mouth and rubbed his face. I think we just made a mistake." Ben glanced at him, grim. No turning back now. Meanwhile, in the bistro, the connection deepened. Not forced, not rushed, but real. The kind of connection that made two people forget everything else, including the eyes watching them, the hidden cameras, and the plan that was collapsing frame by frame. The bistro hummed quietly around them, the faint clink of glasses and the murmur of other diners fading into the background. Alex noticed it first, a flicker in the corner of his eye, a shadow moving too deliberately. He paused mid-sign, hand frozen in the air, and glanced toward the far wall. Chloe followed his gaze, her brow knitting in curiosity. Alex's eyes narrowed slightly, then softened as he signed, slow and careful. "Are you being watched?" Her lips pressed together, a silent question hanging between them. Alex leaned in, lowering his hands, his tone calm. "Yes, there are cameras, and someone is recording us." Chloe's eyes widened, a mix of shock and betrayal crossing her face. She signed quickly, her hands trembling slightly. "Why? Who?" He exhaled slowly, resting his elbows on the table. "Some coworkers. They thought they could expose me, that I wasn't who I seemed, that I would fail. I didn't know until now." Chloe's hands stilled midair. "So, this was a setup." Alex nodded, a small, rueful smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "It was, and I'm sorry. But what's happening between us, that's real. None of this is fake." For a long beat, Chloe studied him, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her hands hovered uncertainly, then relaxed, slowly curling into her lap. "You're honest about it, even now." Alex nodded again. "I could have lied. I could have played it off, said it doesn't matter. But it does. You matter. And I'm not going to let this ruin what we have." Chloe's eyes softened, a flicker of warmth returning. She signed carefully, almost hesitantly. "I don't usually trust this fast, but you are different." Alex's hands moved gently, reassuring. "I know, and I'll prove it. Not with words, with everything I do." Across town, Leo leaned forward, lips tight, staring at the screens. This isn't happening. He's handling it? With her? Ben shook his head slowly. "We were supposed to humiliate him, and now it's like he's winning." Mark let out a quiet laugh, incredulous. "This is unreal. He's actually admirable. Back at the bistro, Chloe let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Alex offered a small, wry shrug, signing lightly. Guess I'll have to survive being exposed for a bad person. Chloe's lips twitched into a real smile, shaking her head. Not everyone can do that. He leaned back, eyes warm. Maybe I'm lucky, or maybe I just have to try. For the first time that evening, the tension melted entirely. The setup no longer mattered. The cameras, the coworkers, the plan, all of it faded into insignificance. In that moment, the only reality was the one between them. Hands moving in sync, eyes locked, laughter and quiet understanding flowing freely. And somewhere, unseen, 3 coworkers sat frozen, realizing that their plan had collapsed not because of chance, but because Alex Rivera was exactly the kind of man they thought they could expose, and Chloe was exactly the kind of person who could see it. The night stretched on, quiet, alive, and entirely unplanned. The next morning, the office felt heavier than usual. Alex didn't storm in, didn't slam doors or yell. He walked calmly to the small conference room where Leo, Ben, and Mark were waiting, their expressions already tight with guilt. "Sit down," Alex said quietly, motioning to the chairs. They obeyed. Alex folded his hands on the table. "I know what you did," he said, calm, controlled, almost tired. "I know you set up the blind date, the cameras, everything." Leo opened his mouth, then closed it. Ben avoided eye contact. Mark shifted in his seat. "I'm disappointed," Alex continued, his voice steady, not angry, not sarcastic, disappointed. "You thought this would reveal something about me. It revealed something about you instead." Leo's throat went dry. We didn't mean—" "I know what you meant," Alex said, cutting him off softly. "But intentions don't matter when actions betray trust. I'm going to move forward. I hope you learn from this." He stood, leaving them to sit in silence. No yelling, no threats, just truth. Later that evening, Alex returned home to a quieter world, the one that really mattered. Lily was sprawled on the living room floor, crayons scattered, drawing shapes that made little sense but made her happy. "Daddy," she signed, grinning. Alex smiled, kneeling beside her. "Hey, Pumpkin, how was school?" "Good," she signed, pointing at the drawings. "Mommy not here today." Alex nodded, hiding the brief flash of pain behind a gentle smile. "That's right." Bedtime came quietly. Pajamas, a story, a lullaby whispered softly as Lily's eyes grew heavy. They exchanged hands, signing simple words, small jokes, the way they always had. After tucking her in, Alex stood by her door for a moment, letting the silence settle around him, the unspoken grief lingering just beneath the surface. Meanwhile, Chloe sat on her couch, phone in her lap, replaying the evening over and over in her mind. She thought about his hands, the way they moved, the fluidity and confidence. She remembered the honesty, the calm acceptance, the way he had owned the situation. And she remembered the small smile, the warmth, the quiet dignity that no one else had ever shown her. She stared at the ceiling, sighing, letting the memory wash over her. Years of being misunderstood, treated like a burden, treated with pity. Everything clashed against what she had just seen in Alex. Then, almost instinctively, Alex's name popped up on her screen. A message. Simple, direct, honest. "Hi, Chloe. I wanted to say thank you for last night. I know it was complicated. I hope you're doing okay. No pressure, no expectations. I'd like to see you again, if you want." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She stared at the words. He hadn't tried to manipulate her. He hadn't pressured her. Just honesty. After a long pause, she typed back, "Okay, I'd like that." The moment was quiet, almost fragile, but it carried the weight of possibility. Alex read her reply and smiled softly. He tucked the phone into his pocket and leaned back in his chair, letting the ordinary sounds of his apartment, Lily's breathing in the next room, the hum of the heater, fill the space. 2 lives, quiet but complicated, had shifted, subtly, towards something neither of them had expected, but both were willing to explore. A week later, Alex and Chloe met again. This time, there was no setup, no hidden agenda, no cameras, no prying eyes. Just the small coffee shop on the corner, the soft hum of espresso machines, and the afternoon light filtering through dusty windows. Alex arrived first, but he didn't fidget or pace this time. He pulled out a chair for Chloe before she even reached the table. When she sat, he offered a gentle smile. "It's good to see you," he signed, calm and steady. Chloe returned the smile, fingers moving smoothly. "You too. I wasn't sure you would ask again." "I wanted to," he signed, leaning forward slightly. "I want this to be real. No tricks, no tests." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I want that too. But trust doesn't come easy for me." "I know," he signed. "I don't expect it to. I just want to show you who I am, not just words, actions." Their conversation flowed, slower this time, intentional. They spoke about fear, her fear of being judged, his fear of losing his daughter's stability. They spoke about risk, about how much it mattered to open themselves to something uncertain. Chloe laughed softly at Alex's sign when he admitted he wasn't very good at trusting new people, and he laughed too, a little embarrassed, a little relieved that she didn't judge him. After coffee, Alex asked almost casually, "Would you like to meet someone?" Chloe raised an eyebrow. "Someone?" "My daughter, Lily," he signed. Her eyes softened, a little nervous, but she nodded. "I'd like that." They drove together, the ride quiet but comfortable. When Lily opened the door, she froze for a heartbeat, shy but curious. Alex knelt to her height. "Lily, this is Chloe. She's going to spend the afternoon with us." Lily's eyes lit up, a little tentative, then she grinned. "Hi," she signed quickly, her fingers awkward but clear. "Do you like puzzles?" Chloe laughed, mimicking the signs, fingers stumbling at first. "I do. Can you teach me more?" Immediately, Lily's tension disappeared. The two of them sat cross-legged on the living room floor, signing, laughing, correcting each other, while Alex watched, smiling. He felt a warmth spread through him he hadn't realized he'd been missing. Chloe and Lily connected naturally, the way some people just do. Alex joined in, bringing snacks and small games, but mostly observing, letting the interaction happen without interference. The three of them shared stories, giggles, and quiet moments of understanding, a gentle rhythm forming between them. By the end of the afternoon, Chloe and Alex sat on the couch, Lily curled up between them, tired but happy. Chloe rested her hands lightly on the arm of the sofa, signing softly to Lily while Alex looked on, fingers resting against his daughter's arm in a simple gesture of care. The thought hovered silently in Alex's mind. This could be real. A family. A future. Something stable and warm. But he didn't speak it aloud. For now, he simply let it exist. Fragile, beautiful, unspoken, as the three of them shared laughter and quiet togetherness in the small living room that felt unexpectedly like home. The Monday after their quiet weekend, the office felt tense in a different way. Whispers swirled like static electricity. Leo, Ben, and Mark sat together, grim-faced, shuffling papers, checking phones. "We need to get ahead of this," Leo muttered, "before someone else finds out." Ben ran a hand through his hair. "I can't believe we're actually going to do this." Mark sighed. "We don't have a choice. Management will see the footage eventually. Better we tell them first." By mid-morning, the three of them stood before the HR director and a senior executive, recounting the blind date setup in detail. Their voices were tight, hurried, defensive. They admitted the hidden cameras, the plan to embarrass Alex, and that it had all gone wrong. Management listened, quiet, expressionless. Notes were taken, hands folded, eyes scanning faces. A few hours later, Alex was called in. The promotion he'd been in line for, senior lead, was temporarily paused pending review. He sat across from the director, his posture calm, hands folded. "I want to be fully transparent," he said, signing when necessary and speaking clearly when they asked. "I was aware of the setup during the date. I confronted the situation honestly, and my conduct remained professional and consistent. That is the truth of it." Management nodded, exchanging glances. "Thank you, Alex. We appreciate your integrity. It's been tested, and you've handled it exceptionally." Chloe, who had come to support him quietly, watched from the back of the office, seated in a corner. She observed how he remained steady, calm, and honest under pressure. No defensiveness, no exaggerated bravado, just truth. After a tense pause, the director leaned forward. "We've reviewed the situation fully. The promotion stands." Alex's shoulders relaxed slightly. A small smile brushed his lips. "Thank you," he said simply. The conversation shifted to Leo, Ben, and Mark. Management outlined disciplinary action. official reprimands, temporary suspension of certain privileges, and mandatory ethics training. They were allowed to speak. We were wrong, Leo admitted, voice tight. We misjudged him, misjudged everything. We're sorry. Ben nodded, eyes downcast. We let our jealousy cloud our judgment. It won't happen again. Mark added quietly. We acted selfishly. It was completely unfair. Alex nodded slowly, accepting their apology without gloating. I hope you learned from it, he said, calm, measured. That's all I ask. Chloe's gaze softened. She had seen enough of the world's misunderstandings, but this, seeing Alex maintain his character under scrutiny, even when he could have reacted with anger or self-protection, cemented her respect and trust. Later, as they walked to the elevator together, she signed softly, fingers brushing his hand. You handled it beautifully. Alex squeezed her hand in return, signing back, I just did what felt right. For Chloe, that quiet affirmation under the unflinching gaze of judgment and consequence proved more than words ever could. He was the man she had glimpsed the night they met, and now she saw it unshakably confirmed. The rhythm of their lives settled into something steady, quietly alive. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, no sweeping moments, no flashy milestones, but a string of small, meaningful choices that built a life together. Chloe arrived at Alex's apartment that Monday morning with a small tote bag, ready for school pickup. Lily ran to her as soon as she opened the door. Chloe, she signed, bouncing on her toes. Chloe laughed, scooping her into a hug. Hey, kiddo, ready for an adventure? Homework came later, sprawled across the kitchen table. Alex leaned against the counter, observing the two of them puzzle over math problems and spelling words, occasionally chiming in, fingers moving as fast as he could to help Lily. Chloe's patience was natural, her gestures playful, teaching Lily new signs with gentle corrections. They laughed together, the kind of laughter that filled a room without needing music. Alex smiled at both of them, chest swelling with quiet pride. Evenings weren't always easy. Old grief still appeared unannounced, flickering in his expression, lingering in long pauses. But Alex had learned to handle it with honesty. He would sign a thought to Lily or speak quietly to Chloe, explaining things gently, without pretending, without letting the shadow take over. Sometimes I still miss her, he signed one evening to Chloe, fingers trembling slightly. But I want her memory to live with love, not sadness. Chloe reached for his hand, squeezing it. I understand, she signed back. You don't have to erase her to live with us. And that was the way they moved forward. Careful, deliberate, not rushing, not forcing. Nights were spent cooking together, arguing playfully over recipes, teasing Lily about small mischiefs and sharing stories about their pasts, the tough parts unhurriedly woven into the present. Their love grew in quiet ways. Morning smiles, shared glances across a crowded table, a touch at the doorway, laughter in the living room. Trust deepened with every honest word, every consistent action, every day that Chloe came to be part of the small routines Alex had built with his daughter. One afternoon, Alex watched the two of them in the park. Chloe helped Lily tie her shoes, signing numbers and letters in playful bursts, Lily giggling at each mistake and correction. Alex leaned back on the bench, hands folded, and let himself feel it. The subtle, steady warmth of a family forming, imperfect but real, built not on sudden declarations, but on countless tiny moments of care, honesty, and patience. By the time they walked home together, arms linked, fingers brushing, he felt it deeply. Trust had become love, love had become family, and in that quiet, fragile certainty, he allowed himself to hope. 1 year later, the same bistro on 7th Street glowed warmly in the early evening light. The chairs, the low tables, the hum of quiet conversation. It all felt familiar, like returning to the first chapter of something that had grown steadily, quietly, into something far larger than either of them had imagined. Alex and Lily arrived first. Lily tugged at his hand as they approached the table, eyes wide with excitement. "Daddy, are you sure she's coming?" she signed, bouncing slightly. Alex crouched to her height, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "Yes," he signed back, smiling. "And when she sits down, I'm going to ask her something very important. Are you ready to help me?" Lily nodded eagerly, grinning. When Chloe arrived, her eyes scanned the room, landing on them. She smiled, slightly nervous, and Alex stood, signing gently, "I'm glad you're here." Chloe's hands moved to her chest in acknowledgement, a smile spreading. "Me too." Alex guided her to the table, then knelt beside Lily, whispering something. Lily nodded, understanding instantly. Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple box, opening it to reveal a ring. Chloe's eyes widened, but she stayed seated, hands frozen in surprise. Alex turned to her, fingers moving carefully, deliberately. "Chloe, from the moment we met, I never expected to find someone like you. Someone who sees me, who understands the parts of me I can't always speak out loud. You've changed our lives. You've changed mine. Will you marry me?" Lily leaned in close, signing quickly and excitedly. "Say yes, say yes." Chloe blinked, emotion pooling in her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly as she signed back, voice catching. "Yes, yes, I will." Alex slid the ring onto her finger, smiling as Lily cheered silently beside them. The bistro felt smaller, warmer, brighter, even with the gentle clinking of cups and hushed conversations around them. It was theirs in that moment, full and complete. Wedding preparations followed, intimate and personal. Chloe picking her dress, soft laughter echoing through the boutique, Alex and Lily waiting at home, fiddling with tiny details, sharing jokes and teasing one another. Quiet late nights spent folding invitations together, discussing the day, without ever needing grand gestures. Finally, the morning after the ceremony, the three of them were home together. Lily curled up between them on the sofa, Chloe resting her head on Alex's shoulder. Sunlight streamed through the window, warming the living room, catching on small details, a stray crayon on the floor, an open book, a coffee cup left forgotten. Alex's hand found Chloe's, fingers lacing naturally. Lily giggled at some small game they had made up, and they leaned into the moment, simply being. It was quiet, it was ordinary, and yet it was everything. The journey, trials, deception, grief, mistrust, had led them here, present, whole, and together. In that small living room, laughter and warmth surrounding them, Alex, Chloe, and Lily had found what they'd been looking for. A family built on honesty, patience, and the simple, unwavering power of second chances. And in that presence, that ordinary perfection of being together, the future felt certain, not because it would be easy, but because they had earned it, step by step, hand in hand, heart to heart. And that's how kindness, honesty, and second chances changed their lives forever. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to Soul Strength Stories for more heartwarming tales that remind us that light always finds its way back.